Well, I figured I'd do a video of doing at least one wheel bearing on the back of my Mercedes. I've got a bit of a bad cold. I did the other side, but I was too messed up to do any videos. But feeling a little better now, so I'll do a video of this side. So, obviously it's jacked up and on safety stands. The wheel's off. So, next step is to take the drum off, and then remove the brakes, and then take the anchor plate off. You'll see. Now with brakes, if I was to proceed to do any work to this at the moment, I would end up like Brian. Because as you see, there's asbestos dust everywhere, because these are really old shoes. So what I've got to do first is wash all this down with brake cleaner. Wash it into a container and dispose of it properly. Never blow this out with the airline, you're just an idiot if you do. You can wash it down with a hose if you want to, but always collect what you get and dispose of it properly, because when it dries out it will leave all the dust and it'll blow around. So, right, so we get a can of brake cleaner, and don't go full pressure to start with, just get everything wet. That way it doesn't blow any dust around as it hits. Yeah, just get it wet to start with. See the way it's trying to turn all into dust when the brake cleaner hits it? That's why you've got to wet it down. Turn it all in the mud, and then wash it off with pressure. There we go. Now I can actually work on this without it killing me really quickly. Asbestos juice. Yummy. Yes, a lot better. Well, now I've got all the brakes off, I'll re-wash the anchor plate and then remove that. I thought the other bearing was pretty bad. I'll show you what was wrong with that later, but this one's got a lot of in and out movement. That's not good for a ball bearing race. So, well, do one, do them both. Right, at this point I have the anchor plate off. You can see the bearing. Now, you need a special tool to pull this out, which I don't have. So, I improvised on the other side. Let's see if it works on this side. Well, just bolt the wheel back on, get underneath the car and kick the cunt out of it from behind, and it comes out. So, I'll do that, and take the wheel off and then slide the axle out. Well, I got the axle out. You've got to carefully take it out with two hands so you don't damage the inner seal. But it looks like someone's had this side apart, because there's a hand cut gasket, and look at the locking ring. It's loose. That's why the bearing's moving. So, could have fucked the actual axle. I don't care because I'm changing the axles. But, and there's not any grease at all here. And these bearings are supposed to be packed with grease, because they're not supposed to be lubricated by the diff oil. Because you've got an inner seal there to stop the oil, and then you've got an outer seal there to stop the dirt from getting in, and crap getting out. The other side had all dry factory grease in it. This side's got no grease, just some oil that came out when I slid the shaft out. So in other words, this bearing was dry. So, nice. That oil don't look too healthy. I'm changing that anyway. And I'm going to put new brake hoses on, because once you clamp these old ones, that's it, they're fucked. You never trust them again. Well, I'm lucky that the butcher that did this last at least peened it over properly, the locking tab. Otherwise, this would have come loose, this bearing would have slipped up the axle, and I would have lost the axle while I was cornering or something. That would not have been fun. So you can tell they've beaten the hell out of it when they've peened it and probably put some metal into the bearing too. Dodgy bastards. Alright, well, I've got two axles up here now. This is the one I just pulled from the car, and this is the one from the old diff that I gave to Ed, and he pulled it all apart and then gave me the axles back. So I'm going to use this axle with that anchor plate and put it back in. The main reason I'm doing that is because you see what bolts the wheel on there, and you see what bolts the wheel on there. They're two different types. So at the moment I've got, you know, studs at the front and bolts at the back. So now I want studs all the way around and make the car the way it should be. So next I've got to knock off these locking tabs, undo these nuts, which this one's loose, that one's tight, and go from there.